What's the main thing, whether from your own personal interactions with Wooden or from what your dad used to tell you about him, the main thing that you took from that part of his life and your life that you could apply to your career now, whether it was with the Lakers or the Cavs or at Arizona?
You know, my dad coached us for, one season. He lasted one season as our coach when we were kids. And he was brutally honest with 12-year-olds' parents. And they didn't want him back.
I can't imagine your dad being brutally honest with his opinions. That doesn't sound like him.
Before we go out every game, he'd be like, and Coach Wooden used to tell us, I've done my job. The rest is up to you guys now. Right as the game was starting, saying like, we put in the time, we put in the practice. Now it's up to you guys to go out there and win this game. I feel like that's something I've learned over time too, because I used to lose a game and not talk to anyone for days and be so beat up over just losing a high school game or whatever. So, it's a much better way to live your life as far as just knowing you do your best and then that's all you can do.
Might be why Wooden lived to be almost 100 years old, by the way, because he wasn't hung up on that. During the lockout, you spent some time as an assistant coach at Memphis.
Yeah.
Tell me what that experience was like, and could you see yourself ever being a college basketball coach?
I wouldn't rule it out, but it was a great experience, and I'm glad I did it.
Aside from the fact they had to spend more time with Josh Pastner, which I'm sure was quite
Josh
painful.
Pastner.
I know, I do too. I'm only kidding.
I absolutely love Josh.
I'm only kidding.
He is as good as they come.
Since I didn't play in the NBA, as you can tell by my looks, I felt this was what was best for our guys right now, to have the opportunity to develop and give us the opportunity to win at a high level. You're bringing a guy who's, like I said, with the wealth of experience that he's had, it's unmatched.
That guy he's just a hard worker and so fun to be around. But yeah, he called me up out of the blue and asked if I wanted to come out there and I could use their facilities to train, to stay ready for when the lockout ended, and do some coaching while I was at it. There was a lot of restrictions and NCAA rules that I had a tough time with as a coach. Players calling me and wanting to work out, and me having to tell them no. It was like,
isn't that unbelievable?
To me, it's like telling someone that's in college that's studying to be a doctor,
right,
that they can only study for 30 minutes twice a week.
Right.
Because that was my favorite part of the whole thing, was being in the gym with those guys and seeing them with the same dream that I had, and wanting to work and not being able to work with them as much as possible. There was some things I really enjoyed about it, and there were some things that I feel like professional basketball would be a lot more fun to coach because of the freedom and being just more about basketball. But I'm definitely glad that I did it and that Josh gave me the opportunity to come help out.
And as long as we're on the subject of dabbling in other things, how about your little star turn on Young and the Restless? Is there an soap acting job in your future? I got to say, Luke, I went on YouTube.
Wow.
I looked for the clip. I couldn't find it. I don't know if you've buried it or we're going to find it.
I don't know how to bury it. I'm glad you couldn't find it, but I'm very impressed with your reporting skills right now that you found. I haven't heard that.
I probably shouldn't even be out here playing today. Well, whoever she is, tell her thanks. What are you talking about? Your mind's not on the game. It's got to be a woman.
There's this thing now called Google, and you type in your name. Anyway.
Yeah.
Can you act?
No. Well, I played myself, so it wasn't.
It's a stretch for you.
Yeah, it wasn't that hard.
Played a professional basketball player.
But the funniest thing about doing that was, for a good 2 years after that, like when we got to the playoffs, Phil would always, because the film sessions were so long in the playoffs, he would always add like funny clips in, or if anyone on the team did something stupid, that they would clip that in. And for 2 straight years, anytime I did anything good or bad, they would clip to my Young and the Restless cameo that I made. The acting is...
We're here in Hollywood, just driving with the 405.
Yeah, that's what my agent told me to convince me to do that 7 years ago, or 10 years ago, whatever it was.
Didn't quite take off.
Yeah, I don't think I'll be doing that again.
So I can't let you get out of here without talking about the Grateful Dead. Obviously, that's required conversation. I have to say I'm a big fan of the band myself, maybe not at the Big Bill level, but what's your earliest memory of going to a Dead show or meeting the guys? You ever meet Jerry and hang out with Jerry a little bit?
They used to come to the house
Over
in
to your
San
house?
Diego. Some of them still do. When they come in through town, they'll stay at the house for a few days. There's a picture of me when I'm probably 3 years old, but sitting backstage at a Grateful Dead concert that I have up in my house here in Manhattan Beach.
You're kidding me, really?
Like on the stage, 3 years old, little fat Buddha baby, and there's just speakers everywhere behind me. It's pretty funny. It's probably not the best place for a 3-year-old to be sitting. But
I don't know if that makes him like dad of the century or like a really warped. I'm not sure how to
it
go with
depends
that.
what. Yeah, I mean, I can see an argument for both.
Yes.
My first memory of them was my dad has a big hot tub at the house. So as kids, my dad was kind of a hippie. We weren't really allowed to wear clothes into the pool or anything. So me, a couple of my brothers, Jerry, a couple of the other guys in the van were all in the hot tub. My grandma comes over. My dad says, Jerry Garcia, this was my mother. He stands up to shake her hand. He's butt naked. My grandma is not, she's not really into that. So she kind of yells at Jerry Garcia. Has no idea who he is. He yells at him and walks off. But that was a pretty funny one.
You've lived some life, man. That is great.
It's been interesting.
A lot of love in your house, a lot of music in your house, a lot of joy in your house. And now that you're a married man, you're going to start a family of your own. I have no doubt that you'll have a lot of joy in your future home as well. So appreciate you being on the show, and
Thanks for having
best
me,
of luck
Seth.
for whatever's coming.
I appreciate it.
On the next episode of the Seth Davis Show, presented by Cadillac, Campus Insiders heads to Durham, North Carolina to chat with Duke head coach David Cutcliffe.
Why is it that a university of this caliber with this kind of athletic tradition could be so bad in football for so long?
You know, I always hear they said this and they said that. My whole life I wanted to meet they. You know, they said you can't do this and they said you can't do that. So I started trying to seek out they on the Duke campus, and I found quite a few of those. I'm not going to name them by name, but we had to start building relationships here, and that's where it all began.